So sometimes I get the question of how many hours per night should I study per subject? Let's find out. I'm going to be flat out honest with you from the get-go. I'm not going to give you a specific answer on how many hours you should do per night on a particular subject, because there is no definite answer and there is no concrete number of hours that you should do per subject. It is very independent and it's honestly just so hard to say because everyone is different. But I am going to tell you a little bit more of maybe how many hours you can allocate to a particular subject depending on various factors. One of the things I think is important to realize is that some subjects you can cram, the others you cannot. So maybe the crammable subjects would be science potentially, just depending on how you go with cramming. Whereas some of the other ones, let's say any of the English subjects, English literature, those are ones where I do not see cramming as an answer because they are what I would call progressive subjects. So subjects where you really need to put in the hard work ages before your actual assessment comes up or your actual exam comes up. So in terms of organizing my time with how many hours I should do per subject, should I put English aside and try to do at least 3 hours a week of English, or should I try to do at least 1 hour of English per night? If that is what makes you feel comfortable, it's really, but don't expect to put in 30 hours of English right before your exam and think that you're going to do well, because that's going to be really difficult for you. Likewise, on the other side, if it's a subject that you would rather cram, so I'm not saying cramming is good or bad, let's just leave that for another day, but if you are someone who likes cramming, well then potentially when you're looking at which subjects you should do each day, maybe it's not one of the priority because you know that you can kind of tackle it only a week or so before or a couple of days before an assessment, whatever works for you. Next thing I would say is to be strategic. So because you know that your top 4 subjects are most important and your bottom 2 don't contribute so much to your ATAR, and if you don't know that, then check out my video. Potentially, if it's a subject in your bottom 2, you might not allocate as much time to that as you would for your top 4 subjects. So for me personally, I knew that specialist maths and literature were going to be in my bottom. So I didn't really allocate as much time to those as I did for the others, and that kind of helped me sort out, okay, so this is how many hours I should put aside each night for these subjects, and maybe like hardly any for these subjects, okay? At the end of the day, you guys just have to figure out what works best for you. So some people will say you must do 2 hours of maths every single day. But for some of you, you might think that 2 hours is actually excessive because you're really good at it and you get the concepts like that. Whereas for some of you, you might think, whoa, 2 hours is not enough because I'm still struggling with the concepts in that 2 hours. I think I need 3 hours. And that might just be once or twice a week leading up until a particular assessment. And then you might change your studying routine leading up to bigger assessments or leading up to your exam at the end of the year. So it's very hard to just say at every single slot of the day you need to do this particular subject and this is how it should be every single week leading up to your final exams at the end of the year, because as you know and as I know, you have SATs here, there and everywhere, and you have assignments on top of that, and then you have homework, and then you have social activities and hobbies and whatever you do. So I think it's a matter of being flexible, okay, and to just figure out what works best for you. If you guys wanted to know what it was like for me, honestly, I didn't have a specific hour to do a specific thing. What I did was I just went home each day. I prioritized what I needed to do on a sticky note. Things like do this chapter tonight for methods, write an essay on this prompt tonight, go and work on these questions for chemistry and whatever it was. And I didn't really have a strict rule on timing as long as I got my work done, and it kind of worked for me. So that would be my little insight. If you are someone who has found like particular hour slots to work for you, then comment below and actually share with me. I'd really love to hear like why it works out for you and how it works well for you, more importantly. And if you liked this video and you understand where I'm coming from, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love your support. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys very shortly. Have a lovely week. Bye! Let's just say a person who likes to go to the gym a lot and they've got the muscles and the 6-pack and all that kind of stuff, you know, like visually it might look good, but